Today, Bitcoin plummets below $41,000. And eToro's U.S. CEO discusses the company's new NFT program. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Pippa Stevens. It's a rough start to the week for digital currencies. Since noon yesterday, prices had fallen an average of 5.5%. Bitcoin broke below $41,000, Ether prices threatened to go below $3,000, and Terra's Luna continued to plummet from last week's record high. Let's talk about what analysts are watching. Wall Street is bracing for a possible recession, and Bank of America thinks that might boost crypto prices. BofA's chief investment strategist said that macroeconomic trouble, rising interest rates, and the Fed's tapering of bond buying means that commodities, cash, and crypto could outperform stocks and bonds. Over at Raymond James, they believe any significant disruption to the traditional payment system via crypto is still years away. But that doesn't mean they're writing off the crypto industry as a whole. Ray J says they're staying, quote, mindful about the impact crypto is having on the payments ecosystem. Finally, at Goldman, David Kostin says publicly traded companies exposed to blockchain technology have underperformed the S&P 500 by about 8% so far this year. The basket of 26 stocks are down about 13% since January, compared to a 5% loss by the S&P during the same time period. All right, on to the top stories. First up, we just talked about what Wall Street thinks of crypto, and it turns out a lot more financial advisors would invest in crypto if there were a spot ETF. A new survey from NASDAQ found that 72% of advisors would put money into crypto if the SEC approved a spot ETF. The pool of 500 advisors manage about $26 trillion worth of assets for clients. Of those advisors, only about a third expect a spot ETF to be approved this year. Next, New York State is looking to boost its regulatory oversight for crypto firms. The state's 2023 budget tasks the Department of Financial Services with calculating new fees to charge the crypto firms it oversees, according to CoinDesk. The budget says the fees are only meant to cover expenses related to overseeing the industry. The head of NYDFS said in a statement that the fees would create a stronger New York. Finally, an update on a story we're still covering: Elon Musk's involvement with Twitter. The Tesla CEO will not be joining the company's board after all. Twitter CEO said Musk's appointment would have started on Saturday, contingent upon a background check, but Musk abandoned the plan. Dogecoin rallied in reaction to Elon's stock purchase last week, but is down 9% today. For our main story, we have one more interview we want to bring you from Bitcoin 2022. Last week, eToro announced a new $20 million NFT fund to buy digital art and support creators. CNBC's Tanaya Macheel caught up with the U.S. CEO Lule Demmissie on the ground to learn more about it.
We're talking a lot about ownership these days with the rise of NFTs. We can definitely get into semantics about whether or not you really own your crypto, but NFTs have kind of revitalized that ownership conversation. I think it's really interesting to be at a Bitcoin conference this week when NFTs are the thing that's having such a moment. Now, You guys just launched eToro.art this week. Tell us a little bit about that. I know that that's sort of a first step into a much bigger and much longer term NFT strategy for eToro. So why did you launch it? What is it? And why are you guys so bullish on NFTs?
You know, I think in general, it's because we're so bullish to this idea of like digital assets blossoming, right? NFTs are another chapter of that. So we're really proud that we just launched two things actually. The eToro.art fund that's going to be it's about $20 million, and it's going to be funding both what we call blue chip NFTs as well as up and coming artists that we want to bring to the forefront and to foster a sense of community in this space. So why are we doing this? We think it's really important for companies like ours to invest in this space, both in the formation of community, but also in the formation of this technology taking hold. We think it has a lot of promise. And the promise of it is also different use cases, right? The power of an artist owning their space in a way that they couldn't, right? The power of an asset becoming digitized and owned in a different way. And so for us, it's not only a commercial future that we think it's important, but in the interim, it's a commitment to the formation and the continued investment in this community.
So you've been at eToro for less than a year now. You've got this wealth of experience at in more traditional wealth management. I'm actually going to rattle some of it off. Ally Invest, TD Ameritrade. You've had some other roles at Morgan Stanley, JPM Merrill. Why did you join eToro?
Yeah,
what has that transition been like?
Before I joined eToro, I thought I was a non-traditional person, first of all. So much for that. So I actually joined very traditional finance, JP Morgan, as you said, Morgan Stanley, and then moved into more digital brokerage because I felt really strongly that I wanted to be committed to a life where individuals were getting access to investing. And I love product management, I love business and the capital markets, so that felt like a really great combination. And I cut my teeth in those spaces and really grew to commit to the idea of an individual investor being empowered to partake in ownership. And then Ally was a wonderful place, and then eToro called, and I was like, oh, I guess I'm not as radical as I thought I was. And it was such a phenomenal company, the people, and the promise of it as a social investing network. And a social investing trading platform. I felt like it had a real promise, and I was excited by the business problem that I was going to solve, and I love the people, so I hopped.
In your time at eToro, and also just as an observer before then of the crypto industry, what have you learned about investors, either retail or institutional or both? eToro offers both crypto and stock trading. You're now in this crypto world. We've already talked about your more traditional, your background at more traditional firms. These two worlds have always been separate, but they've been coming closer and closer together slowly for many years now. Have they actually converged yet?
I don't think they've converged yet. Part of it, I think, is that they are fundamentally different in their makeup, right? On the one hand, you have establishment, on the other, you have disintermediation. So there's a sort of oil and water component to it. But I think where they have converged is in the eyes of the consumer. What I mean by that is ultimately, I'm an all of the above kind of investor. At the end of the day, I will invest in capital markets and stocks and in diversified instruments, as well as crypto and other instruments. And I really encourage people to be diversified in their approach. And so I think for the individual investor, it's a buffet table of choice, if you will, that is wonderful. I think in general, though, what I would say is, what I have learned as both a professional as an investor is that the ownership of capital is an essential part of success, right? I came as an immigrant with not a dime to my name, and just the gray matter that's in my head and the love of my parents. And I'd say, it is only through the ownership of capital, whatever that diversified means of capital is, that we have something to be able to accumulate in our lifetime and potentially pass on to others. And we know that the root cause of all things unequal is the ability to be able to pass on capital to others, right? And so I feel really strongly that individuals, no matter where their position in life, have to be given the opportunity to be able to accumulate capital, to invest, to learn, to endure.
That's it for Crypto World today, but we want to remind you that we talked to so many movers and shakers in crypto while in Miami, and you can find all of those full interviews, including the one with Lule, over at cnbc.com/cryptoworld. That's it for today, but we'll be back again tomorrow, and we'll see you then.